Howdy, everybody. Mudslide here. It's September the 12th, 2025, and Friday night. And I thought I would do a Mudslide Friday night crap wrap because I'm going to be changing out this layout this weekend. And I have been doing videos on this layout for a long time. It's getting beat up down here, and it's time to switch it out. So I thought it'd be a good time to chat with y'all, folks that have been watching me for a while and maybe just starting to watch, or subscribed recently, and versus being subscribers for a long time. And but this will definitely be the last video I will do on this brown layout. Okay, and I'm going to pop out a fresh set, unopened, unused, unplayed dice, some mudslide Mac dice, by the way, and just talk about. I think I just want to kind of talk about the dice influence, YouTube experience journey, if you will, that myself and many others have been on, and just my perspective on it all, I guess. So I'll be throwing some dice. I might make some. I'll throw some. Maybe I'll make some bets. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But I will be marking uh, hits, not number of hits, but I'll be marking hits from an ATS kind of perspective. Okay, so that's what all those white markers are all about. We'll mark those. We'll try some different sets and stuff like that, and we'll just chat. Kind of give a retrospective, if you will. All right, let me take a look and see. All right, so if I throw from there, which is 8 feet out, you'll be able to see the sets and all that sort of jazz. So, brand new pair of dice, when they come out of the wrapper, are going to be in this configuration. It's going to be, in a casino, it's going to be 5 dice. If you have them custom made for you, I suppose the casino could do this as well, but you can be in pairs, sets of 5 or 6. I haven't seen anything bigger than a set of 6 dice, and that's primarily for the practicing thing with 2 different colors, so that you've got the right 2 different colors. For your practicing and so forth. I'm enjoying a little brown water here as we chat. It is Friday night. So let's just start off with a traditional hardware set. When I first started learning about dice influence, this was the set 5454 with a 6 here and a 1 there. That was taught as the way to set the most advantageous way to set the dice for the beginner. So let's start off with that. I'll even start off with the traditional pickup and whatnot. Okay, so you would set the dice like that, and you would pick them up, and then you would not have them on the deck, but you would then do a backswing and let them go to a target. And I just threw a beautiful single pitch 6. You know, the whole and if you do that, say the first time you've so the first time you try to put the dice in a set, you throw them, and they hit exactly where you're aiming, which they just did, and you come up with a single pitch. You go, oh, well, this is easy. I can do this in my sleep. I can do this forever. That's not hard at all. Not true. Not true, because there's so many other factors here. Like I just picked up a drink and had a sip, and my fingers got moist. You cannot have moist fingers on those 2 plastic cubes. That'll create undue drag and so forth. And then you've got to start thinking about, you know, they teach a uniform pressure of 3 fingers in front, thumb in the back, position of the thumb up or down has an effect on rotation, so on and so forth. And so all of a sudden you realize, oh, I'm on a journey here. This is like a skill. This is not just putting dice in a configuration, picking them up and throwing them. And I got a 6 by just picking them up and throwing them, which was the point. We'll mark that. Use the red dice to mark a point hit. There's more to it than that, and sometimes it's as easy as that. But there's an awful lot of understanding about the dice. A die, a 6-sided cube, numbered in such a way that the opposite side is going to equal 7. 2 of them together, 36 combinations. 7 is the most likely number that will occur when these 2 dice are thrown in the air and come back down again. There's another single pitch 8. Well, there's a single pitch and it's resulting in an 8. 8 will now be the point. And your mind opens to those variables, and it becomes a journey of understanding many, 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 many factors that go into this game. The bidding, you've got 6 numbers, box numbers they're called, that are the numbers that are not prop numbers. Okay, and the propositions, you've got 11, 3, 2, 12. So there's 4 numbers there that don't exist there, plus the 7. So that's what makes the game the game. And that's why you don't just grab the dice and throw them without some purpose or understanding of what you're about. See, I just threw a 7. That was a double pitch 7. I did pick up a hardware set without any consideration for what might happen, just being random about it. So when you put some purpose to what you're doing, then perhaps you can influence the result. And that's what I've been doing on this old brown surface, on this 10-foot practice rig in my downstairs spare room for some time now. I took a look at, okay, let's just see if we can't get something positive here. I took a look at when I started all this. There's a 3. 3 is a crap number coming out, so you would lose that pass line bet. I'm going to leave that 0.6 hit as a reference. So what was I saying? Okay, so using this old layout, I'd put different sort of underlaying underneath. One side's slightly different than the other. And I've come to the point where the whole thing needs to be redone and be a little more consistent with what I might find in a casino environment. Not that this is bad, but there's a 6, 4, 2. But it's getting beat up. It's getting old. And I'm not comfortable with the underlay. The underlay is, I think, a little bit inconsistent. It's good for practice. I think it's good for practice in the sense that it's challenging. A guy that I admire, Cashier's Cage, talks about challenging yourself by putting bouncier material on your practice rig and things like that. I haven't looked at many of his videos lately, but I know that was a big part of what the lesson and the message that he put out there for folks, which is, challenge yourself, make your practice as bouncy as possible. If you can be successful and very bouncy, then chances are when you get to a real casino or a real table or a casino table, get to a casino table, your skill will help. I mean, your practice of the skill will help you figure that table out pretty quickly. And I have found that true since I started practicing and on my particular rig. It doesn't take me too long to get comfortable at a new table. I play frequently on cruise ship tables, and they vary from ship to ship, cruise line to cruise line. And there's a 6, 5, 1, which is the point. And it takes a little bit of time to sort of scope out that table. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're short tables, sometimes they're a little bit longer tables, sometimes they might have a very strange bounce characteristic, things like that. But when you when you kind of work that out ahead of time on your own practice rig, there's a 5, new 0.5, single pitch again. That's helpful. All right, so digressed a little bit. I want to kind of talk about the YouTube OGs with dice control, or sort of craps in general. And I will tell you that I had not watched anything on YouTube when I first started this. I ran across a fella at a charity casino night here locally where I live, on a nothing better than this. It was a makeshift portable table for a casino night, right? Not a crap, not a table, not a real casino replication. Let's put it that way. But all that doesn't matter in the sense that the surface was, I know it was a hard surface. I remember that there was no alligator pyramids down there. It was just fabric of some sort. But I remember this guy, the dice, he'd give those dice and he'd put them in a configuration and he'd do this very particular sort of thing. And then he'd do something like that. And there's a 10, 6, 4, 10. And he would do it over and over again. And everybody else at the table would sort of pick the dice up and toss them because that's what we do. But every time the dice came around to that particular guy, he had a long hand every time. And the end of it all, I said to him, "Hey, how do you do that? I mean, every time the dice come to you, you have a long roll. I mean, and we make fake money here at this casino night." And I'll never forget his response. Now, this gentleman was probably the same age that I am. And to let you know how old I am, I started shooting dice in the mid-70s, okay, in Vegas. Long time ago. And he said to me, "Well, kid, it's called dice setting. Look it up. It's on the internet." And that was the beginning of my journey, because I did look up dice setting on the internet, and I found a lot of resources, books, pretty much exclusively, a few websites. I think Heavy's website was out at that time. I think I saw that, or maybe looked at some of the, what do they call it? The forum things, other various people talking about this, that, and the other. But I gravitated to the various books that were out there and available to me that I could buy either in a electronic version or a hard copy version, that were written by what's his first? I can't remember his first name. His last name is Scobletti, and featured Dominator, and then the Jerry Patterson. I think it was Jerry Patterson, but the Sharpshooter book, and then the Mad Professor Wong had a book out on it. So I had some health issues at the time. I had time on my hands, and so I read all of those books and then started thinking, well, does this make any sense? Can this be done? I happen to have an old pair of there's a 12 Midnight. Happy accident, as my friend Ten Ted would say. So I began to recognize that, there was a lot of info out here on this stuff. And I started practicing tossing into a box. If I'd step off, they would talk about shooting from the stick left 1 or 2 position. So I figured out how many feet that was. And right here at the moment, I'm shooting from a little over 8 feet away, which is pretty close. It's about a stick 1 spot, depending on the table you're at. And, I just through, tossing and writing down the numbers and things like that, and learning about understanding what a 7 to rolls ratio was, that I began to see, there's something to this. And as a person who'd been playing craps since, my very early 20s, I thought to myself, there's this 2 off axis 7. I said, there's something to this. There's something that can be learned from all of this. There's maybe a way to go in, at least when you're shooting, to have a longer roll. And that, of course, always is the goal, right? I can say for sure, in the early days, we would go up and down Fremont Street, downtown Vegas, and looking for an opening at a table and a hot shooter. And that was the thing. I mean, everybody was saying, all we need now is a shooter. That's. I was at a table. There was a hot shooter. So I saw this DI thing as an opportunity to become, or give myself the opportunity to shoot better, to be a hot shooter. Yeah, or just to shoot better. Let's just put it that way. And that's how it all started for me. Let's see if I can hit a 9 or a 5. I'm going to go to the corner this time. And there's a 5. So anyway, I was reading and learning, and had gotten sort of to a plateau, if you will. And on the internet and whatnot, I found, I could see people were doing lessons, and excuse me, a little sip there, things like that. And then I heard about YouTube, and I put in a YouTube search, or maybe I was just doing a search or something, and a YouTube video came up, and it was probably Bone Thrower in his Bone Zone video, or YouTube channel, I should say. And so I watched that, and at first I was skeptical, but then after watching it a bunch and giving it a bit of a try on my own, I realized there's something different out there than this, par type toss. And still having some influence. There's a single pitch 9, and it's still a skill, and you're still influencing the outcome. So and then I kept looking at other videos, and there was a Dangerous Arm. Dangerous Arm. Oh, that guy was a character, to say the least. But I would say in the DI history timeline or whatever, he has got to be there as probably one of the most watched and innovative shooters on YouTube. I mean, he would coming up with a very, he just understood, he figured out dice setting, and then he understood the basic mechanics is the dice have to land flat in order to have any in order for the set that you put them in to have any effect. And he figured that part out, and so he would just do these, simple, adjustments to a set, something like that perhaps, and then he would do a toss that would be flat, but it would tend to, go in say like that direction, or something, along those lines. And there's a 6. Now that was a very poor example of what he would do, but that it was stuff like that. And I began to understand that, you can throw the dice in a variety of different ways, and you can set them in a variety of different ways, and have a influenced result. There's a 4 hard, which is what I was in a set that would favor hard 4. Not that I was good at calling it or anything, but, and so, man, that just opened up my eyes and my world of practice and awareness of what is dice control / dice influence, what is dice setting, and how can that help me be a better shooter? How can that help me be a shooter that creates more winning on the table, more wins on the table, which was my goal. I mean, I've been playing the game, as I said, since I was, my early 20s. Of course, after 21, but I loved the game. The thing that was frustrating, though, and there's a 2. The thing that was frustrating is the 7 out, obviously. Obviously, the 7 out is the most frustrating thing that can happen to you in the game of craps. So I saw early on, you're always looking for that good shooter. Here's a 3. Somebody hit the small. 4, 5, 6, 3, 2. Okay. There was inevitably each day when you went out shooting craps downtown Vegas on Fremont Street, there would be a point in time where you would hit a table, and there was somebody, every time the dice came back to them, they threw for a long time. And there's another 3 coming out. I guess I'm still looking for a 9. Yeah, we're still looking for a 9. So the idea that some people, especially when I saw the same person every time the dice came to them doing well, either they were the most luckiest person on earth, or they had some kind of skill about what they were doing. There's another 3. Wow, that's 3 of them in a row. That's not easy to do, folks. All right, let's go to this kind of a toss. So we went on and on from there, but there's a hard 10. Whew. Now, I'm beginning to like really, all I need is an 11 or 8 for the tall and the all. You can see, hopefully from this, I'm using a variety of approaches, but I'm trying to be consistent in each one. There's a 6. So in other words, if I change a set and a grip and a release, I'm doing it in a consistent way. Like this particular set, this particular release, I want this to land before the pass line and roll up to the wall. And there's an 8. That's one of the ones I need, and I want only this 11. Can I get an 11? Let's see. This is a total experiment here. Can I get an 11? Oh, 7. Yeah. I was kind of showing off there. All right, so let's get back to the whole history lesson, if you will. So bone thrower, dangerous arm, and then, gosh, many other folks started popping up on YouTube with, makeshift practice rigs and things like that. There was Easy Way. I remember Easy Way. Easy Way was he's long gone. Been off. He hasn't done a video in forever. But I remember that was the fascinating thing about Easy Way to me is he did a 3V set that was the hybrid style with the 6.5 showing instead of the 5.1 or the 6.2, and had brief interaction with him in comments and stuff like that. And he said that particular set for him just enabled him to have longer hands when he went to Vegas and when he played, and he didn't deviate from that. And he used pretty much a par type toss with that set. And there's a 9. Gosh, let me see. Who else can I remember? It was I think his handle was Crapshooter 66. He was an interesting fellow. He had a practice rig, and he had a layout on there that was. And I remember I know the layout because I had one myself, and it was a really thick felt layout. I know that where I got mine was at the Gambler's Bookstore in Las Vegas. I don't know where he got his, but it was the same layout. It was that thick felt, and after a while, it would get little felt bunnies on it, stuff like that. And I remember, he understood some basic things, and whatnot, and he was like me, experimenting, high tosses and this, that, and the other. And I remember just he and I had some very meaningful interactions back and forth. I know I learned some things from him. Hopefully, he learned some things from me. And again, I don't know what happened to him. He just stopped putting out crap videos after a while. But at that time, those early days of the YouTube dice setting uh, stuff, there's a 5. It was a lot of give and take, back and forth. I don't know. Some of the content people were, in my opinion, they weren't. I don't know. I just didn't think some of them were all that friendly. Some were. Um, for example, like BT, who I have a absolute shit ton of respect for as a pioneer and an amazing DI. I he very rarely responded to anything I said to him. For whatever reason. That's and at this point, I don't really care. At the time, I thought, well, shit, man. Well, why don't you just uh, say something back? Tell me to go fuck off or whatever. I think he did respond once when I recommended he use 2 different colored dye. But that might be a good idea. If I can remember. Oh, look, there's a hard 8. So over the years, the YouTube dice influence, dice control, dice setting community sort of developed, and then a lot of dice strategy, or I should say craps strategy folks, filtered into all of that, which is all fine and whatnot. I think probably a couple of the most famous ones would be, or not famous, most well known would be Color Up, and then Wayland's Way. Um, there's others, but I've never been too enthralled with strategy videos. Oh, I will take that back. For example, Wager Me This. Wager Me This was, and to me, classic. He is the classic strategy guy. I mean, Wager is definitely a gambler. He is everything he puts out there is from a gambler's mentality, a gambler's perspective. And I'm not dissing that. That's cool. That's very cool. And when he did his craps things, he would try setting and throwing with a little bit of purpose and whatnot, and he kind of surprised himself that it was sort of working. I haven't watched his stuff in a long time, but I do have a lot of respect for him as an OG on all of this. And he had sports betting. I don't know whether he got into any of the other things like slots and blackjack or baccarat or that kind of stuff. But again, smart guy, knows his stuff, and if you're interested in learning various sort of strategies and think other various ways you might want to approach the game of craps in terms of betting strategies, I would recommend him for sure. Color Up. That's the to me, Color Up is the plain vanilla stuff. I mean, everything he puts out there it's interesting and it's worthwhile, I think, to the beginner. But it's very, I don't know. I mean, he's a very big skeptic on dice influence because I don't think he understands that. Yeah, you can give yourself a little bit of an edge by influencing the outcome and setting dice and throwing them properly, but that doesn't mean you're going to beat the casino. All it means is you're going to give yourself a small edge. You still have other players at the table, and you still have the fact that it is a skill. And this, it's like a golfer's not going to sink a long putt every time for birdie. That kind of thing. And I think that's what he thinks dice influence is, a way to win the game, which is why he puts out strategy videos, because those are the ways to win for a while, kind of thing, which DI is as well. So, Jeremy, if you listen to this and you or watch this video all the way through to whatever point I'm at here, I mean no disrespect to you, brother, but I just don't think you really give DI the credit that it deserves in the modern game. There's a 6. So I guess that's really kind of all I have to say about YouTube. We'll say that, well, no, it's not. It's not. Let me go on a little bit more, historically here. So as the community of dice influencing and whatnot and shooters began to grow, and they became a little bit more familiar with each other and so on and so on. There's a double pitch 7. The camaraderie grew, and then let's see. Let me name some of the other folks that were out. So George from CY. George from CY is one of the most dedicated YouTube DI guys out there. That still daily, every day, does a YouTube dice influence oriented video. Man, my hat is definitely on his commitment to the craft and the media is phenomenal. I mean, I obviously have not done that, and I would not do that. Another guy that I put in the exact same level is Roll to Win. Ed Robinson. Ed, extremely knowledgeable of the whole thing. Been around it and around a lot of the OGs from the beginning. And when you get to know Ed, you get to appreciate the warm-hearted human being hiding underneath that curmudgeon that you see or you hear of in or that he projects. Okay, Ed is a really warm-hearted, good Southern gentleman. I don't think anybody, if he calls you a friend, I don't think you could ask for a better friend. I would say the same thing with George. I gotten to know both of them. I've personally met Ed. I have not personally met George, but George and I have had many conversations via text and over the phone and things like that over the years. And Ed and I have, we've played at tables together. We've shared a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas about all of this and things like that. Those two guys, to me, are really doing the best stuff available on social media. George is still, I think, pretty much exclusively YouTube, Ed also has a Patreon. He also has a podcast with 10 Ton. 10 Ton is #1 Casino Tears podcast. But their content, what they provide in the way of interest and experience and knowledge to the novice or to the beginner, someone who's just discovering all of this, is great. You couldn't do better than to really subscribe to both of those two people on their respective platforms if you're interested in how dice influence the game of craps, how all of that works. Let's see, we got an 8. Let's see if we can't. All right, what do you say? Let's do some betting. It's going to be a long video, and that's fine. I got the time. All right. So we got a point of 8. Let's do a PSO hedge. Come bet. Okay, let's stick with the hard way set here. There's a 5. Combat travels to the 5. All right, what are we going to do here? Let's put single odds on that 8. Put $20 odds on the 5. Place that 6. These are all marker chips over here. And I'm going to see where the next number goes and maybe do a modified combat. There's a 6, 5, 1. Gonna pay me 35. Let's press that. Mark that 6. There it is, right back. 5, 1, 6. Yeah, this is going to be 49. Press it. There's 10, 6, 4. I'm looking for an 8. Let's try a corner toss. There's a 4, 3, 1. Too bad I didn't put in any ATS money. Let's try this. Still 2V set. Ah, 4, 3, 7 out. Maybe got a little too creative. 100, 125. So anyway, that was disappointing. Yes, it was. But the whole idea here was to, well, we're almost an hour into this. It's going to be a long chat. What else can I talk about in the world of craps? The world of YouTube. What I have been the YouTube social media craps world. And we have been talking about it the whole time, but it's been a tremendous amount of fun for me to share what I have been learning about all of this, and learning from others who are willing to share what they are learning about it. I never started this, but that was a gorgeous toss, single pitch 5. Woo! I never started what I was doing here on YouTube with the intention of it being a money maker or something, becoming an influencer or any of that sort of stupid stuff. To me, stupid stuff. But I certainly see where, that's important to folks, getting numbers of subscribers and getting advertising. I don't even really understand how all that works. To me, it seems to me like it would be a lot of work for. It just seems like it would be a lot of work. But I have thoroughly enjoyed the people that I have met, and chatted with, and some that I've met in person, all because of the YouTube exposure. There's a 12. It's a 2 off axis 12. A happy accident, as Ted Tudd is number one might say. So, I hope that when I don't know, I'll take most, I think, of my videos down here pretty quick or pretty soon. I think we're going to try maybe a little different. There's a 642. A little different approach. Maybe yes, maybe no. I don't know. I've been thinking about it. Who knows exactly what I'm going to end up doing. But it's been an awful lot of fun. The next video I'll put out will be on a different layout. It's all green. I got it a while back. There's an 8. Got it a while back, and one thing or another just was never able to put it on. Never able to get it. I need help, taking the sidewalls and all that stuff off. So this weekend, now all that's going to happen. So the next video I do will be with the green layout. I don't know if I like that one. That worked. 415. Which is the point. The point of it all. Interestingly enough, as I've been sitting here talking, I've hit 2 5 points and 2 6 points. And, if anybody wants to, don't bother. Count all that up and, oh, here's the thing I really wanted to talk about. Artificial intelligence for analysis of your tossing and your sets and that sort of thing. Phenomenal tool. Absolutely phenomenal tool. I recommend Copilot. Copilot seems to have a somehow or other built-in understanding of what dice influence is, what SRRs are, what on-axis, off-axis is. It just knows it already. And if you give it, information about your tosses, left die, right die, and the set that you're using and so forth, it can give you some very interesting analysis on your trends and over the number of tosses you put into it, which can help you understand your signature numbers and things you might ought to be betting on. I'll just quickly say that I threw a bunch of information in there utilizing a hardware set, and even throwing with my left hand. Not that I'm trying to say everyone should throw with their opposite hand, but throwing this way with a hardware set and tracking that. Okay, there's a 2 off axis. Dang it, knocking it over. It was a 2, which is needed in this ATS evaluation. But anyway, it told me that I ought to consider doing more hardware bets, for at least a minimum of $2. So I said, all right, I'll give that a try in my practice. I just threw another 2. Come on. There we go. Trust me, that was a ace caught an ace, which I already have. Too bad it wasn't a 6 caught a 6. But I tell you all that to just say that I believe that artificial intelligence is going to be a very big factor in the casino world for the player and for the casino. If they haven't already, when the casino figures out, there it is. That's what I wanted right there. When the casino figures out the best ways to utilize AI, be interesting to see what they come up with. Because I can see right now, just with the game of craps, the type of assistance, there's a 9, 6, 3, that it can give. Okay, I need a 10, a 4, or a 3. That it can give you in your strategies, in your applying these things. It definitely points out to you what your advantages are, what your edge is, and gives you some ideas of how to take advantage of it. There's the 9 right back. Repeater on the 9. All right, that's enough of that. Stay safe, stay happy, stay healthy. Remember, luck